Oh, I'm gonna get killed for my Smith take. I just, yeah.
I will drive on down to where you are and hash this out with you right now.
So, Jack, we are back with our next position group. We have the fly halves, the kingpins, the guys who love to be spoken about. So, we're gonna roll off. This is a really difficult one to go. I actually probably more challenging than in normal years where you've had like dominant figures, such as Dan Carter and players like that, and Johnny Sexton and Owen Farrell and Dan Bigger. That it feels like we're in a new era now with the tens where there hasn't been as many standouts. So, yeah, I guess. I'll obviously look forward to hearing your thoughts on this, and I'll shoot off with the first one. Might be slightly controversial, and people might argue that he's not even the first choice for them at the moment. But I'm going with Handré Pollard. I don't know, arguing with a two-time World Cup winning 10. I know Sasha Feinberg and Komazulu has so much potential and was phenomenal for the Bucks this year, but Pollard never lets the Bucks down. You look at him playing for Leicester at the moment, and he's looking uber comfortable in their attacking structures. He's more than capable of playing the wide attacking game that Tony Brown wants to implement. The question is, could he play alongside, Ngomazulu or Lebock at either 10 or 12? If that's the route they wanted to go. I just think if you have, as we know, you have a penalty to win a match, there's no player in World Rugby who you want more than Handré Pollard. What say you, Jack?
I wasn't expecting that one. I mean, I wouldn't have him top five. I'm not even sure he's in top three of England, if I'm honest. Um, I know. I think he's a very old school mold. He's a damn bigger style player. I think he's safe. He's secure. He's the player that you want if you just want to control a game. A lot of the new fly halves you find tend to have a good running game. They tend to have a bit more zip about them, whereas Pollard is very much a safe player. I'm not going to veto it because I mean he's won the World Cup twice, and he's broken English hearts on many more times than that. So listen, he deserves his credit. He will go down as like an all-time great, not necessarily for his skill level, I don't think, but for what he's achieved in the game. Have him in there. I don't think that he will be pushing for the top part of the five, but go on then.
Interesting. I think it's a hard one, isn't it? How to quantify what you want. I just think when it comes to tens, you want a match winner, and nobody's more of a match winner than Handré Pollard. When you talk about Pollard, when push comes to shove and Rassie wants to win a match, who starts? It's Pollard starts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting that we're so different on that one. Over to you. Who have you got next?
All right, go on then. Let's throw in your favorite player of all time. Perhaps not. Marcus Smith.
Hmm.
Right. You said you wanted the match winner. There is no one better in the world.
Veto. No, okay, I'm not going to
I'll tell you what. I
veto.
will I will drive on down to where you are and hash this out with you right now. Marcus Smith. If you watch him from a youngster playing for Queens, doing a little bit of magic that he did, to what he is now, which, as I'm concerned, is a world-class fly half, an all-encompassing, all-round player. He has been a game winner since day dot. I mean, Harlequins when they won the Premiership, Marcus Smith won so many of their games at the death simply with his own bit of magic. The little kick through, little step, putting a Esther Hazen through the gap, perfect crossfield kicks, whatever the case was. Now, he's always been a match winner, but now what he's got about his game is his game management skills. Now, when you think game management, you think like so Johnny Sexton, you think Johnny Wilkinson, you think Dan Bigger, Pollard, things like that. But when you combine those game management skills with the individual brilliance to break lines and spot gaps where there apparently weren't any, you've got Marcus Smith. And the way he played this autumn for England in particular was just it was unbelievable. You have all black fans saying that Marcus Smith might make their bench. Now, that is a compliment, by the way. We stood outside Twickenham Stadium and All Blacks said, bear in mind when the All Blacks won by a point or two, they said not a single English player would make their team, but Marcus Smith might make the bench.
Yeah, interesting that. I think I could not feel more strongly on the other side. I think he's a phenomenal rugby player. I think he's very exciting. I think what the issue is I'm not convinced he's going to be England's long-term 10. I think the switch to Finn Smith will be coming sooner rather than later. I really love watching Marcus Smith. The problem with it is that I think at times it's hard to explain, but I get it's the individual brilliance is fantastic, but a lot of the time those players around him struggle to react to what he's doing. I don't know, it's a weird one. For me, he's not a top 5-10 in the world, and I think he might go on the Lions tour, but I don't think he starts ahead of Finn Russell or perhaps even, dare we say it, a young Sam Prendergast or maybe Jack Crowley who finds where he's at, just based on what Farrell picks his teams to be. But yeah, I feel I would love to veto, but you feel so strongly about it. I would not hurt your feelings like that. So we'll keep Marcus Smith in this list. We'll have a little bit of a hit out about where he falls on this group next.
No, that is the roguest argument of all time. I completely veto everything you've just said.
Anyway, we're on the fly half. So, on to the next fly half. This is a tricky one. I am going to go with Finn Russell, who's quite clearly, I think, a top 5 fly half. I think you have to be pretty fair on that. Russell's been a magician, more similar to Marcus Smith. Actually, interestingly, I saw Johnny Sexton a while ago making a quote that actually he kind of was like, oh, Marcus Smith's like Finn Russell. He's like, actually, that's not correct. Marcus Smith is more of a test 10 than Finn Russell. So clearly there's no love lost there between those two. I guess the argument comes back to Scotland never win anything. So does that dent Finn Russell? I mean, he's pretty much dragged Scotland to wins that they probably didn't deserve previously. And now they actually have got a very good team that they are very much a contender for the Six Nations. We've heard it all before, but where do you see Finn Russell? Obviously, he's a Bath fan in particular. You've had him up and close and personal recently.
Yeah, I mean, Finn, great. He's very he's he's one of the more relaxed tens out there. He's the complete opposite of a Andre Pollard. He can do things on the field that others can only dream of. And I just think the way that he's played, or the way that he's dragged Bath up off what was the worst sort of era that they've had in quite some time to become in Premiership final contenders is nothing short of amazing. Finn Russell, he's been phenomenal for Scotland at times. Finn's problem is he can be inconsistent, but whether that's down to him being inconsistent or the team that he plays with being inconsistent, that's up for debate.
Cool. We are moving on to the next one, and you are up, my friend. Who you got?
Oh, right. In which case, I'm gonna go for Damien McKenzie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
I'm gonna do it. Um, his only problem he is inconsistent. But I mean, we were at the Bath Barbarians game a couple of years ago. He obviously played 10 for the Barbarians, and yes, I can appreciate that it was an exhibition match, but he was just head and shoulders of everybody else. And obviously he's been given a number 10 shirt for a lot of New Zealand's games this year. Some parts of the game he looked utterly unplayable. He was phenomenal in terms of sort of controlling the players around him, making the breaks, doing things that other players in the field can't. His biggest issue is he tends to, because he's quite a quiet lad, so he tends to shy away at times that perhaps he shouldn't. So I think that's the only thing that's sort of hamstringing him at the moment. But I think in terms of sheer talent, then DMAC makes the top 5 for me.
Yeah, no arguments here. It's a hard one because between him and Bowden Barrett, I think it kind of comes back to the point that we've said there's no real dominant tens at the moment, is there? Like, there's no clear cut of
Mm.
Carters, Sextons, Farrells, players like that who you could slot in. So yeah, no arguments here. I think it's funny that we've kind of gone 3 consecutive players who are all in one way kind of similar, in that they can play. I kind of think that Mackenzie is what a lot of people think Smith is. So that's probably my assumption on that. And cool. All right. So we're going to round out the top 5 with the last player for me. This is really interesting because it's gone off kind of what I initially thought, but I went back and I'm obviously a rugby nerd, been watching a bit more rugby. Going back on Thomas Albornoz, the Argentinian fly half, who is just phenomenal. You watch him in the Rugby Championship. I see I've caught you there. I'm sorry, Jack. It's different than the list I sent with you with other players, but just kind of allow me to have a little bit of a spiel on him. He took over from Santi Carreras as the first choice 10 throughout the Rugby Championship, guided them to some monumental wins. He's a really good goal kicker, really good distributor, plays brilliantly in Felipe Contempomi's system. And he's shifted between 10 and 15, but he's a test 10, a test animal. When you think of all the great Argentinian teams over the years, you got Felipe Contempomi we're talking about, but you had Hernandez back in the '07 World Cup, who was just absolutely phenomenal. Nicolas Sanchez, who in more recent years, who's really good. When they've been at their best, they've had a dominant 10. And I think Albero is that player, the Benetton star. I do think he will be in the top 14 sooner rather than later. I find it hard to believe that Benetton will be able to hang on to him, or he'll be in the Premiership. He's a top class 10. Sorry, kind of left field choice for you on that one, but I just think he was brilliant. He almost had Argentina over the line against Ireland this year. And anytime they had big wins, he was key to it. So he is my final choice at Fly Half. So sorry for catching you off guard with that one, but Thomas Albornoz is my final choice.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was at that game in Dublin, the Aviva Stadium, when Ireland were very fortunate to sneak through.
Mhm.
I mean,
There was a
Ireland.
knock on, Jack. There was a knock on. Doesn't have to be on TV. It happened, all right? So there.
Okay. The Albano's and obviously his teammates were. I thought they played a terrific game, and Ireland were stuttering. They weren't the Ireland that we saw last year. Obviously, I do hope that they sort of really sort of recover and push back on, because it's great seeing the Ireland team perform so well, particularly prior to the World Cup last year. But yeah, I mean, what Albano's does for the Argentinian team is he just sort of drags them along. He really sort of sets the tempo and makes sure that side stays in the game. And I mean, he's got a decent boot on him as well, isn't he? So yeah, I can completely see why you've chucked him in there.
Mhm. Okay, cool. All right, so I think we're going to have a very difficult ranking here. Do you want to go first, or will I go first? How would you want this one to go?
Go on, you go first, because I'm all over the place here.
Okay, so you know who my number five is. Your lovely man, Marcus Smith. I know he probably won't end up there on our final rankings because you're going to offset this one on it. I'm sure this is where it'll be a veto. So I'm going to go Marcus Smith at 5. I'm going to go Damien McKenzie at 4 because I'm not sure if he is a 10 or a 15 long term of the All Blacks. Hard to know. I am going to go Thomas Albornoz at 3. I am going to go at Finn Russell at 2. And I'm going to go Andre Pollard for me for purely the big matches that he wins all the time, that I'm going to go with Andre Pollard just as the biggest game-winning 10 in the world at the moment.
Yeah, this one's turned a bit upside down, isn't it? I don't know. I've got an issue with Pollard at number one.
Fair.
Um,
I can see that.
yeah, and an issue with Marcus Smith at 5.
I
I'm
can't.
wondering, I'm wondering to appease ourselves, maybe Marcus goes at 3.
That's exactly what was going through my mind. Great minds think alike. I think Marcus at 3. I knew we were going to settle on that. It's the
Mm.
if you ever watch South Park with Cartman becomes a an investment banker. You buy low, sell high. That's what you always got to do here. So yeah.
Could you see Russell being number one as opposed to Pollard, or is
Yeah,
Pollard?
oh no, I just don't think he's the best fly half in the world. It's so hard. I agree with you. I just don't feel strongly about it. I just think, like, what are we judging it on, right? Because Andre Pollard has won a under 20 World Cup. He has won 2 World Cups. He has won 2 Rugby Championships. He's kind of had success everywhere he goes. Finn Russell has won a Pro 12 with Glasgow, or Pro 14. It's hard, isn't it? I knew this one would be a real challenge. So let's lock Marcus Smith in at number 3, no matter what, to keep both of us happy on that. And then,
You definitely have Finn Russell above Marcus Smith.
no, screw it. Let's put Finn at 4. I know where we can go with this. Let's put Finn at 4.
Finn at 4, yeah.
Let's put DMAC at 5.
Yeah.
Albornoz at 2. And Pollard at 1. If anything else, we've got the Springbok fans on side.
So we're right. Okay, so we put out right. Okay, Albano's Mate, he's had a storm. He's gonna be buzzing. He's going out drinking tonight, celebrating this. He's gone from an outside pick to being put down as number 2 fly half in the world.
We don't have to do that. I'm just joking. We don't have to. If you don't
What?
want to, we can. You make the final call. I'm happy to go with whatever you want.
Right, you hear that? Right, we'll have Pollard at number 1. Keep Phil happy over there. Guess who's coming at number 2, mate?
Marcus Smith.
You know it.
There he
Number,
is.
number 3 can be Russell. Albero's, he can have number 4.
Yeah.
And D-Mac, number 5.
I hate to say it, but that's the most sensible list we put together.